In March, the almost 900,000 post-secondary students in Ontario were told to vacate their student residences as all campuses closed and classes and exams shifted online. 3 months later, the question foremost for many of them is, what will they be going back to or to for the first time in September? With us for their thoughts, we welcome in Orillia, Ontario, Brandon Real Amiot, who is going into third year at Lakehead University. In Whitby, Ontario, Sophia Zamorano. She is Vice President of the Catholic Board Council and the Ontario Student Trustees Association. She's just graduating high school this year. And in the beaches of the provincial capital, Akshay Mohan, an international PhD student specializing in mental health at the Center for Industrial Relations and Human Resources at the U of T, where he's also a teaching assistant and student organizer. My goodness, three very busy, talented people on our program tonight. I want to start by asking each of you how this pandemic has affected your education and your well-being. Sophia, start us off if you would.
Of course. Hi, Steve. Thank you for that question. I definitely think the pandemic has affected all graduating students across the province, all students for that matter. It's definitely not something that we saw coming at all, just like anybody else. And it's a little bittersweet to see a lot of our, senior moments kind of slip away from us, like prom and graduation. But of course, it's for, everyone's safety and, public health. So we're trying to make the best out of the situation that we have gotten. But so far, there have definitely been a lot of changes to my senior year and that of every single student across the province.
It's funny, when you describe a senior moment, for me, a senior moment is when I forget something, but this is just a difference in vocabulary. Moving right along. Brandon, I wonder if you could answer the same question. How's things for you?
Hi, Steve. Thanks for asking. No doubt it's had an impact on my mental health and that of my colleagues and peers. It has also drastically changed the way that I do my work. I'm not used to sitting at my desk for 12 hours a day, nonstop to do schoolwork plus other work on top of that. So the transition was definitely challenging on my physical and mental health.
Akshay, how about you?
I would say on an average I think for graduate students, there has been a lot of significant financial, academic, and health pressures that they have been going through. I would say personally for me, I've been fortunate to be living with a partner in an area that has a lot of green space. And at the same time, the biggest transition for me was being able, not having a community of students with whom I can work with, and mostly needing to work from home.
Sophia, are you planning to go to post-secondary in the fall?
Yes, I am. I'm planning to attend the University of Toronto. I'm going to be studying a Bachelor of Applied Sciences, specifically chemical engineering.
Wow. Okay. And has the university indicated to you how all that's going to happen?
Yeah, we've been in a lot of communication with our faculty and obviously the university. They recently sent out a letter from Dean Chris Yep from the Faculty of Applied Sciences. He mentioned that we're working with public health officials to find the best option for students in the fall, which is going to be a mixture of in-person classes and online lectures and such.
Brandon, how about you? How's Lakehead going to work for you in the fall?
So at this time, Lakehead has announced that it intends to deliver online or alternative course delivery come September. And over the course of the summer, courses will also be online. That'll depend greatly on the recommendations of local health officials, both in Simcoe, Muskoka and in Thunder Bay. But right now, it is looking like it is going to be online, at least for the foreseeable future.
And just confirming, you're going to the Orillia campus as opposed to the campus in Thunder Bay?
Yes, I'm at the Orillia campus. So for us, we have about 1,000, just over 1,000 students at our campus.
Okay. Akshay, how about you? How's things going to look in the fall?
I think for graduate students, in general, especially for international students, I would say they will be faced with a combination of tuition increases, especially if those who are enrolled in self-funded programs. I think the Board of Governors had announced approximate increase of 5% of fees increase. I do not know whether that will be implemented or not. I think that combined with a decreased income during the summer months would be quite challenging. I think on an academic side, I would say students are facing a challenge of uncertainty of whether they will have academic extensions and increased workload from having these courses to move from a physical to either a hybrid model, depending on what the health official says, or a purely online model. And I think the third big challenge that would be is the social isolation that the graduate students may face, and in the absence of community and added family responsibilities, how that might impact their overall mental health.
We'll talk more about that in a bit. I do, Brandon, want to understand, though, take us back to March when they basically canceled the in-class school year. How did that all work for you? And I'm really curious about exams. Did you have exams? And if you did, how did you write them? And tell us how all that worked.
Well, it was certainly challenging. Some schools had up to a week or more to prepare for the transition to online course delivery. In my case, my professors had approximately 4 days to work out their transition online. For myself, part of my courses already had no exam and instead had a final assignment of some sort. And for the courses where we did have an exam, those were completed online. And as some reports have revealed in recent days, there are concerns about some of the online testing modules that are being used. So definitely moving forward, that'll be a concern about how classes are actually taught. For myself, I didn't have any virtual lectures, which could be a challenge for myself, someone who really needs that in classroom time. And the testing modules could be an issue too going forward.
Well, do you mind if I ask you a very indelicate follow-up?
Sure.
You know, writing exams online, how does anybody know that you would never, of course, because you have a great deal of integrity, but how do we know that the students aren't cheating?
I think that's a really good question. I'm going to be honest, I don't think there's any way to prove or disprove whether someone is or isn't, but I would imagine that it would show, at least somewhat reflect in the mark that you receive, because professors usually do a pretty good job of making sure that answers can't be Googled.
Okay. I want to just share with you folks and our viewers and listeners a survey that was conducted by the Canadian Association of University Teachers and the Canadian Federation of Students. And this is graduating high school students and returning post-secondary students, and they reported the following. 75% worried that virtual education is a poor learning experience. 75%. 70% said that their summer employment plans were negatively affected by COVID-19. 30% of returning and new students might change their plans about enrolling at a post-secondary institution in the fall because of the current situation. Fully half said COVID-19 made it more difficult to afford tuition and living costs. And more than 2/3 of students said their personal finances and those of their parents or family have been affected by the pandemic. More than 2/3, which does raise, Sophia, a lot of questions about what you and your fellow grade 12s or OACs or whatever grade you're in and graduating out of, what you think the plans are going to be for the fall. I know what you've told us for yourself, but what are your friends saying about whether they're going to go to school or defer or take a gap year or whatever?
Yeah, that's definitely a great point to highlight. I know a lot of my friends are also really confused right now, and everyone's really uncertain because these are times we've never seen before. A lot of my friends, like those statistics have been shown, we've gotten laid off from our part-time jobs, or our finances aren't the same as they used to be, and no one really knows what's going on in the future years. A lot of my friends are deferring just because they know they won't be receiving the same experience, not only in the classroom, but also that first year experience where you're really out of your household for the first time on your own. Personally, I've taken it upon myself to continue my education online, regardless of how it's going to be playing out next year. But I know a lot of my friends are exploring their options to see whether they're going to take a year off to work and save up the money that they would have been doing now, or they're going to be exploring other options to see what they're doing next year, because they really just don't understand or don't see the value of going back to an education that's purely online.
And, I mean, under normal circumstances, if you're going to take a gap year, you might travel all around the world, which will be hard to do now, or you might get a job, which will also be hard to do now. Do they appreciate the pickle they're in right now?
Oh, for sure. We're definitely all of our friends are constantly talking to each other, saying, what are you doing? Trying to share best tips, best practices, because it's definitely so uncertain, and it's crazy to think that a couple months ago we had so much lined up, and now it's just so hard to see that picture coming through.
Let me share some more stats here. These are international students who, of course, our post-secondary system really depends on to come here and spend their dollars here and so on and so forth. These are numbers from a couple of years ago. More than 721,000 international students studied in Canada in 2018. They contributed, imagine this, an estimated $21.6 billion to Canada's economy, and nearly 54,000 former students became permanent residents in Canada in 2018. So many come and many stay. And Akshay, I want to let me get a sense from you, Akshay, about why you think this country is such a significant recipient of foreign students to begin with.
I would say there has been a couple of factors that have led to a significant increase in Canada being sort of a destination for international students. I think one is as US immigration policies and United Kingdom immigration policies have changed and shifted, that has made students look at other options. I think the second is Canada, to its credit, has been very good at changing its immigration policies in a way that it allows students a pathway in being able to work after they graduate, and then use that work experience to also a pathway to permanent residence and eventually citizenship. I think the third aspect is also the multicultural climate that you can at least very visibly see even in Toronto, that allows people to feel at home. Having said that, I would say international students do face significant challenges when they first enter the country. But I think overall, it is a very attractive destination for international students.
Well, let me do a follow-up with you on that, Akshay, because obviously if all the courses are going to be online, you can just as easily be staying home and saving money by, living with your parents halfway around the world than coming over here and sitting in a student residence, if you're lucky enough, or in an empty apartment. So do you have any idea what the pandemic is going to do to the numbers of international students who either, would have come here under normal circumstances but may not?
I would say I would divide that into two categories. One is international students like Sophia who are already in the country, and they are deciding from having graduated from high school within Canada going into the university system. And I think at University of Toronto, that forms a significant number of international students. So there the choice would be more being with their parents at home, taking a gap year, but that may be less effective because they're not as much tight border controls. I think when it comes to international students who are coming from abroad, for example, let's say India, it would probably depend on one, what does that mean in terms of their immigration status? Because for a lot of them, having education in India is as much part of being able to integrate into Canada, use that to build their network and use that towards work experience. And second, I would say what the financial outlook would look for each of those individuals will make a significant difference, because if they come to Canada, they may have a better prospect of being employed in Canadian currency, and that would help them ensure they may be able to better afford the tuition if they're paying it themselves.
Gotcha. Brandon, I do want to follow up on the issue of online courses with you and have you tell us what concerns you have about potentially getting an entire year's education without ever going into a classroom, just getting it all online. Tell me about that.
Certainly. So for myself, I really struggle with online courses and transitioning, having never really taken an online course successfully, I should say, in any form of education was quite a transition. I think a lot of students need that in classroom time with their professor and classmates to be able to, fully grasp the information and to engage in discussions. With online platforms, that becomes a little more difficult. There's lags. For myself, being from part of Ontario where broadband access isn't necessarily universal, that becomes a concern for students because you absolutely must have the internet in order to participate in online schooling. So I think that in terms of education policy, we have to acknowledge that not everyone across the province is going to have the same access to technology or to internet.
No, indeed, and I'm crossing my fingers that the line holds up. It's doing rather well so far from Aurelia, so let's keep our fingers crossed. Do you tell me about the program you're going to be taking in the fall? What are you going to be studying?
So for myself, I'm partway through my interdisciplinary studies degree. So my specializations are in political science and media studies. And I also have a diploma in Indigenous community and social development.
Do you have in any of your coursework courses that simply can't be taught online?
For myself, no. However, there are some challenges with the media studies aspect of my program. We are normally required to use technology that's only accessible at the school, such as video editing software. And the cameras, the boom mics, those sort of things are all at the school as well. So figuring out how we're going to get access to those devices and to the editing software will be important. For students who are in some of the sciences, having access to a lab is pretty important, and the labs are on the third floor of our building. So I'm not entirely sure how that's going to work. And that's why I think the school highlighted that there would be alternative delivery methods, not just online. I don't know what that looks like yet, but it's going to have to be worked out sooner rather than later.
I am going to make sure that I ask that question to our next three guests in our next segment because they're the deciders. They're the ones who are going to tell us how they intend to figure all that out. Sophia, those are Brandon's challenges. I want to find out more about your challenges now because you're coming out of grade 12 in a year which throughout the course of the year, I mean, as if the pandemic weren't dramatic enough, you also had some, I guess, considerable labor unrest with the teachers and the Ontario government going at it for contract renegotiations. So I wonder whether you feel, with the mix of all of that, like you are ready for post-secondary.
Of course, yeah, that is a great question. I know not just myself, but students across Ontario and probably even the world are concerned right now to see if they are prepared at all. I know personally myself, I am very fortunate to feel prepared. My teachers did a great job transitioning to me and our classes into the online world of learning. And the University of Toronto has launched a program which has helped us transition as well in the areas of math, chemistry, and physics. So in regards to my education, I definitely feel prepared, but I know that that's not the case for countless students across Ontario as well. And it's easy for me in the STEM world to open up a textbook and kind of absorb material on my own. But for those students that perhaps are studying the arts or music or athletics, or other fields, it's difficult when you need that one-on-one connection with your teacher, with your professors. I know that because we've been out since March out of schools, it's been hard to catch up on those specific subjects and those areas of learning because those are really hands-on where you need that one-on-one connection with your teacher.
Okay, let's do something really tawdry here and talk money. I want to find out whether or not, given that you're not getting the education that you might otherwise have got had the pandemic not be hitting, whether or not your post-secondary institutions are giving you a break on your tuition fees. Sophia, start us off.
Awesome. So yeah, as of right now, I know my payments are due in a couple of months, and there hasn't been much of a change. It is a little bit, I don't want to say upsetting, but it is difficult to see that we will be paying the same amount of money for tuition, be that online or in person, especially with some programs, being a little bit more expensive due to the fact that we have to be, in a lab space with very expensive equipment. It's difficult to see that we will be paying the same amount, whether it's online or in person. I think it's just important. I would like to see universities be a little bit more flexible in understanding that a lot of students don't have our part-time jobs right now. Finances aren't necessarily the same with the pandemic going on. And, we're going to be having a lot of our in-person classes online. So it would just be really nice to see universities be flexible with everything that's going on right now.
Flexible means cutting the tuition a bit, yes?
Yeah, that would be ideal, or perhaps even just, reducing, maybe pushing back on payments or allowing for a little bit of flexibility in regards to when they're due.
And I suppose under normal circumstances, you might have been moving from Whitby to the campus. Is that still going to be the plan?
Yeah, so like you had mentioned, a couple months ago I was ready to go live downtown. I was ready to like, move into my residence. However, with the current circumstances, if we are going to be doing classes online completely, I really don't see, the need in me going to live on residence if I can open up a laptop in downtown or if I can open up a laptop back home in Whitby. Uh, I guess it's going to be weighing the factors of, is it financially, stable for me to go to residence, although we're doing hybrid classes, or, how to what extent will the classes be hybridized? How much will I truly be in the classroom space? How much truly will I be in the lab space in the lecture halls? And how much will I be online?
Hmm. Brandon, what have they told you about tuition for this coming year?
Unfortunately, tuition is not being cut. I believe partly in line with the province's post-secondary plan. Last year, there was a 10% decrease in tuition, as well as a $630 million or $670 million cut to OSAP. And then this year, it was meant to be an OSAP freeze or a tuition freeze for domestic students. For international students, there's, of course, no cap on how much can be charged. So as far as I know, the plan moving ahead is to continue with the rates that we have for domestic students, and there is a slight increase for international students. In terms of costs, for myself, I only just started receiving the Canada Emergency Student Benefit, which came several weeks after I actually needed it. And for international students, approximately 400,000, according to Senator Peter Harder, are still without any financial support. So I think post-secondary institutions definitely need to look at how they can make this coming year more accessible, more affordable to students, given those circumstances and given the pandemic and the change in delivery.
Actually, let's finish up on you. What's happening with your tuition in the fall?
So I would say personally, I'm in a more fortunate situation because I'm in a funded program and my department has been very supportive. I would say more broadly for graduate students, as Brandon mentioned, for for graduate students, for self-funded students, there will be big challenges related to not having limited employment income during the summer months. And then for international students, there is an added increase in fees, as far as I know, that's being contemplated by different universities as a way to compensate for the tuition freeze on the domestic side. I think on the additional burden, I would say the challenge international students will face is that they're not eligible for the Canada Emergency Student Benefit. And many of them may not also be eligible for CERB, which even though is open to international students, I think the challenge is many of these contracts end on the spring term. So they have not had a loss of employment due to COVID, but more, I would say, limited new employment opportunities due to COVID. And I can, if you
Understood.
like, yeah.
Well, you know what? I want to save some time for the next group because you've raised a bunch of good issues that I want to put to them. So, Brandon, Sophia, and Akshay, I want to thank you for joining us on TVO tonight. I want to wish all of you the best of luck with whatever path you take in the fall, and let's hope your lives get back to whatever normal means as soon as possible, okay?
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Take
Thank
care.
you, Steve. You too.
The Agenda with Steve Paikin is brought to you by the Chartered Professional Accountants of Ontario. CPA Ontario is a regulator, an educator, a thought leader, and an advocate. We protect the public. We advance our profession. We guide our CPAs. We are CPA Ontario. And by viewers like you. Thank you.